Constructive Voices, the podcast for the construction people, with news, views, and expert interviews.
Hi, and welcome to Constructive Voices, the last episode of 2022, as we head into the holidays, Christmas and New Year. And wherever you're listening in the world, I hope you get a chance to have a fantastic break. But before we finish, Peter Finn, Pete the Builder, and I are going to look back at some of the many episodes that we've brought you throughout this year.
Constructive Voices media partner in Ireland and the United Kingdom is Construction Industry News. Since 2002, Construction Industry News has been focused on the very latest projects and developments within the UK and Ireland.
So, Pete, here we are again at the end of another year.
Yeah, unbelievable, Steve. The years do fly by. It's an old saying, but it is a true one. And it seems like only yesterday that we were starting the beginning of 2022, but here we are now. 2023 is very close to the horizon.
I, as you have probably done, and as anyone listening would have to do, would have to actually go back maybe onto our website or through the podcast episodes to remember the huge magnitude of guests and the variety of guests that we've had again this year. So many different topics and so many different perspectives that we've brought to the podcast this year.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Like, we really have hit on some great topics, and we've had some amazing guests on as well. It's hard to know what we actually started off with in 2022, you know?
Yeah, well, now, you say it's difficult to remember how we started the year. I am cheating because I've got the webpage up in front of me here. I can tell you how we started. We did a sort of a predictions episode, and then we jumped into an episode which is kind of one of the big topics. Obviously, climate change, sustainability, all of those things have been huge discussion points for many years, but over the last year we've covered them very much on Constructive Voices. We spoke to Gilbert Lennox King about how to measure and offset embodied carbon, and that was kind of our first big episode of 2022. And really sort of set an agenda there for talking about sustainability.
Yeah, well, look, we've been speaking about this subject since probably the very first time we ever spoke. Being honest, Steve, we've been very aware of the battle that we have going on at the moment, and we're obviously huge advocates of new ways to address these issues. And that was a super episode. How people within that industry are really focusing in on how to measure and how to empower companies to be able to address this issue in the correct way.
One of the big standout things, and I think this one I haven't forgotten because it was the first time we met in person, and we met so many great people, and we were down on Hove Seafront on the south coast of England enjoying a fantastic event, Footprint Plus. We talked to a lot of people there, Pete.
Yeah, what an amazing event that was. Not only did I get to meet you face to face, Steve, obviously, which was an amazing moment.
Highlight of your career.
Highlight of my career, without the shadow of a doubt. No, but it was great to be in a room at an event where there was just so many people, like-minded people, but also people coming from all different spectrums within our industry. You know, it was a very educational period of time for me. I got to listen in on so many fantastic talks. We got to interview so many really, really strong guests, and we made so many great connections at Footprint Plus. So, you know, It was a great event to be involved in. It was great to be there, and great to meet so many people face to face, and to get that kind of interaction going was amazing. But to do it with such strong people, and to have heard so many speakers and listened to so many perspectives was amazing. It really was probably one of the highlights of my year, was being at Footprint Plus.
I'm Greg Clark, and I'm chair of the Connected Places Catapult and the UK Cities Climate Investment Commission.
So I'm Catherine Dewar from Historic England.
I'm David Tombach. I'm Development Economics Director from Historic England.
I'm Sophie Cole, and I'm an architect at McHale Riches.
My name's Paul Lincoln. I work for the Landscape Institute, and I edit a magazine called Landscape, which is the Institute's quarterly journal.
Hello, hi. I am Tim, and I am from Cubot. Betty is the robot that's designed to insulate suspended timber floors.
My name's Adrienne Block. I've been working in the construction industry for 30 years.
I'm Stuart McLaren. I'm the Net Zero Director for Infrastructure for S&C Lavalin.
So my name's Josie Cadwallader-Hughes and I'm the Sustainability Director at FACUM.
Councillor Samuel McGeehan. I've been a councillor in Brighton Hove for 3 years. I have a background in the built environment. I'm a chartered town planner, a chartered surveyor.
Hi, I'm Angela Crowther. I work as an Associate Director in Arup, looking after multidisciplinary design projects, typically big master plans.
My name's Jason Horner. I'm from Hilsa Moran. We're an environmental engineering and design practice.
My name is Mitakshi, also known as Me Too, and I lead the sustainability team at Will & Partners. We're a multidisciplinary design team.
We spoke to so many people at Footprint Plus, but although that was an event in the UK, we are a truly international podcast. We like to jump around the world, find out what's happening in the construction industry right across the globe, including Australia, with Alex Fernandez-Soncini from Procore.
It's a lot more of a mature market, to be honest, and we've not had a lot of that mobile technology around when we first cracked in. So you're dealing with a lot of paper-based processes and trying to digitize all of that, where you look at some of the other kind of Asian portions of our market, they've really come into life through the developing world, through, the mobile technology being around to utilize. And so they're already slightly in front of us in terms of what technology they're already using and not waiting for things to become available to them, or trying to change manage out of very old archaic systems, or even paper-based processes. Australia in particular, again, laggards in terms of diversity. I think 6 in 10 builders saying that there's no need to improve female participation, which when you look at the stats in terms of the females that are participating in certain roles within the industry, is pretty shocking, to be honest, in this day and age. But there is just a lot of shifting there. I think, women hold only 12% of site manager roles in Australia and 17% in New Zealand. So quite lagging there as well, compared with 28% in the Philippines. There's certainly more females entering the construction market in those, especially those site-based roles, in other nations across APAC.
We also found out about the state of the construction industry in Ireland with Scott Delaney of CIS Ireland.
It's remained quite consistent in terms of the volume of new plans being lodged, which I suppose shows that there is that continued sentiment there for investment and development. I suppose with the global recession, that was a real case of money impacting our sector. Whereas I think COVID, for the most part, it was more restrictive in terms of obviously the lockdown we experienced here. And you'd know this better than anyone in terms of, how we'd have to work then in enclosed spaces and all the new standard operating procedures that came in, which I think at this stage, maybe we've got used to now. But I think in terms of I do believe there is sentiment there. There is funds in place. That volume of pipeline activity has remained consistent. The volume of obviously then your planning approvals has remained consistent in Ireland as well. But we've also seen some backlogs when it comes to the likes of appeals, which look, I suppose would be the same in any country if someone's not kind of happy with a planning decision close near them or it'll impact their life, they can appeal. But we've obviously seen a backlog in terms of some of these decisions getting made. So planning has impacted maybe progression and activity in terms of the sector here. But look, hopefully in the coming 12 months, planning will get back on track. Decisions will be made in a timely manner so that, projects can be pushed on and moved on site. The activity on the ground has remained steady enough as well. As I spoke of, the lockdown we experienced last year in that first quarter obviously saw this explosion then in the second quarter of all these shovel-ready sites finally being able to get going. And I think as well, the impact of material costs, which, is probably seen across the globe, that really has impacted, from hearing on the ground, the likes of tender prices. What was agreed at one stage is now maybe potentially doubled. And then obviously those durations have been pushed out. So we're seeing a lot of projects, maybe more so public, go back to the drawing board in terms of, maybe the initial cost actually being far greater than initially envisaged. So that's having I suppose, an impact on some of the public sector projects more so. But yeah, the materials, I believe, really, really impacted and slowed down activity here. But I'm hopeful that, by early next year, that will have plateaued. Order books will be full. Deliveries of materials to site will be on time. And they'll obviously be of a decent price for the contractor and obviously the developer, so that sites can push on.
Meanwhile, in the US, we spoke to Stack Construction Technologies product marketing manager, Aaron Henderson.
It's a super exciting time to be in construction, right? There's so many things that are happening. I think we really have some young leaders who are coming up in the industry who are really pushing the evolution of technology, what we do, who are really starting to understand the impact that it can have. We're seeing so many great things from artificial intelligence and what that can do, and how we can start to design and see buildings in 3D, way ahead of, actual construction. So I think we'll start to see more and more visualization. I think we'll start to see a lot of, robotics are coming on really big. I know you guys did a great episode on robotics here not too long ago. We're starting to see some of that, and not necessarily in just replacing jobs or anything like that, but helping to supplement. Also some of those more difficult jobs or where safety becomes an issue, I think we'll start to see robotics play a big part there. And then I think, prefabrication and sustainability, we've talked a lot about it, and it's obviously a big topic within the industry, but I think we're going to see a lot more prefabrication coming up. And I think we'll see a lot more offsite construction. And I think all the benefits that come along with that, both from an economic standpoint and from a sustainability standpoint, if we can kind of eliminate some of that waste, if we can start to build things faster offsite, if we can get materials where they need to be faster, I think that's all going to play a big factor in what we do as an industry for sure.
One of the other themes we often return to, Pete, is the challenge of attracting talent into the industry, particularly diverse talent. And for International Women's Day, we did a special episode 25, with award-winning author Farah Naz. Now, she spoke to Henry McDonald about various different aspects of women in the construction industry and touched on how we get women, and in fact, way before they're women, when they're very young girls, to start thinking perhaps about the construction industry as a career.
I think it starts from home, and it starts from very early age. High school is too late. We really, as an industry, should start going to primary and middle schools to actually having those conversations with the young children. I also think that our school system, our teachers also need support in having those conversations with their students. I strongly feel that as an industry where we are working as architects, engineers, urban planners, we also have a role to play to support our teachers and our schools to go and spend that time and really speak to them about the leadership that they can play, especially we are in the middle of a climate emergency, and all these professions have a very important role to play. So it's very important from an early stage in a children's education to start showing them the different sides and how impactful these professions are in making a positive change. After high school and during pre-university, university level, I think mentorship and internships plays a very important role. Opening up those opportunities in our own companies makes a huge impact, a societal impact, and actually creating that environment of taking young adults and youth to show project sites and the influence we can make as human beings to our society and our culture. I think that's extremely, extremely important. So the sowing of the seed starts in a very early stage. And I think it's responsibility of us as parents, us as construction experts working in the industry to actually support our school systems, our teachers, and opening up those internship opportunities for the young adults. And once they are graduated and there's an opportunity for them to then really bringing them up in our graduate internship programs, it's a small little dots, chain effects that connects with each other. And I think when all of us makes that conscious, active effort to undertake these different points that I just mentioned, I think it will really, truly make an impact.
So great to hear Farah's perspective on that and so many other things. Episode 25 is our International Women's Day special. Pete, we spoke a lot this year about different aspects of people.
Yeah, without the shadow of a doubt. Look, I'm a people person. I love, meeting new people. I love hearing lots of different perspectives. I love meeting people from all different aspects of our industry, but also from different parts of the world and listening to the different cultural differences and listening to the different approaches that people take all across the planet to getting solutions and to solving the problems that we have within our industry in particular. We've often spoke about this and it is something that we hugely support is, more women in construction and highlighting some of the ladies within construction that are doing such amazing work was a brilliant episode that we had as well. It was great to listen to the ladies that we had on that and like the work that they're doing and the high level of expertise they have and all the different aspects that they themselves are bringing to their own work environment, but also then how that spreads out between all the different aspects of construction. So that was a really positive one. And, without the shadow of a doubt, like we need more women within construction and we need more women pushing and driving on solutions to the challenges that we have. So that was fantastic.
And we can't talk about people without talking about mental health. They go hand in hand, and it's a big topic, not just in the construction industry, but generally in society. But, it's perhaps been slightly difficult sometimes for the construction industry to talk about mental health, but it's certainly something which we're talking about a lot more now, Pete.
You're dead right. Getting to hear people's stories, getting to listen to the real life experiences that people have had, you cannot beat that. It's literally, the best knowledge you can attain is speaking to someone who has experienced something and listening to their perspective on it. And, all of these things are always quite complicated as well. It's never a simple fix and there's always lots of different aspects going on. So again, we always approach these subjects. We never shy away from them. And it was super to have been able to do that again with so many really, really good guests.
Absolutely. And one of those guests is Charlie Wilson. He's the founder of the OK Positive app.
There's a silent issue with mental health and particularly the stigma that comes with it, particularly in the construction industry, mainly because people aren't open about this. Speaking about mental health traditionally has been very much portrayed as weakness. It's been portrayed as something that makes you open and vulnerable, potentially losing your job or not getting that promotion that you were hoping for and the more money that you're looking for. So I think there's an underlying problem where people don't feel safe to open up, don't feel comfortable or know how to open up. And that issue compounds itself. I started the business because of my own lived experience. I worked in for a FTSE listed recruitment business because some of the working operations, the pressure from management, the targets, the KPIs, the stigma around mental health, I started to experience quite severe mental health issues, which led to me having 3 or 4 panic attacks a day, hiding away in the company toilets, playing on a video game on my phone to get myself out of it. And I realized I was costing the business money. I was realizing I was losing a quality of life. I started to gain a lot of weight. I started drinking more alcohol. I became more of a grumpy person to be around. And I wanted to help myself because no one else really was going to do it for me at that time. We had an employee assistance program that no one really touched. Because of the stigma and because of the cost implications, I wasn't going out with the employee assistance program. I wanted to spend my money on things like spending time with my friends and family, as opposed to on therapy. I wanted to be able to understand more about myself and my mental health and understand what makes me work and what makes me feel better, what makes me maintain my mental health. And I looked up loads of different tools and I realized that none of them actually did that. There are 3 forms of mental health support in the world. There's preventative, proactive, and reactive. And 90% of the solutions in the world focus on being proactive or reactive to a problem without preventative. And we want to be able to prevent these issues before they become too serious. And what better way than being able to safely, anonymously feed back to your company and get resources that are relevant to you at the times that you need them. So that's what led me to do this, and it's become my life's passion.
Now, Pete, we heard Charlie there mention that during his own mental health struggles, he drank too much, but drinking too much can become an addiction. And there are, of course, various other addictions. And more recently, we did an addiction special, a very, very powerful episode, and an amazing guy called Richard Price who was really open and honest with us. And in his own words, you know, he was taking a risk by telling his story, but telling his story was something he felt he had to do to help other people in his situation. I mean, what an incredibly powerful episode that was.
My mental health seemed to calm down for a while, but unfortunately the drinking continued. And I drank every day for about 5-6 years, I think. And I thought I was doing it successfully, working in the construction industry. I was working in the offices as a technician. And I didn't really think I had a problem. You know, the people that I surrounded myself with, they drank quite heavily. And I drank on a daily basis. I was the last person to see how bad the problem was, which is the case with many addicts. They often are quite deluded and think that there's no issue. Addiction will start to strip things away from your life. So people started to walk away from me. They started to walk away from wanting to be around me and that kind of thing. And I lost jobs, I lost friends, and I lost partners. And it was all down to, I would love to blame it on just the alcohol, but it's down to my behavior. You know, it was unacceptable, the way I was behaving when I was drinking heavily, and everything just sort of spiraled out of control, really.
That was something very, very special. And I think the word powerful that you've used there really does sum it up. Like Richard wasn't a chap that goes around, you know, doing public speaking all over the country and is like a polished person that's, you know, sort of reliving his experience, you know, on a regular basis. He came to us and he, you know, had the confidence in our platform to be one of his first opportunities to really delve in deep into his problems and the addiction issues that he faced. Again, listening to those real life experiences and the problems and the resolutions and the hope and the human part of that story was just so powerful. Again, it was an honor and a privilege to be able to have, you know, that kind of honesty and that depth of real just genuinity that came out that day was exceptional. What a powerful episode that really was. And again, you know, we will approach those subjects. We never shy away from those kind of situations, and we definitely will be bringing something similar to our listeners again in 2023.
Yeah, and 2023 is going to be an interesting one for us because we're sort of moving up a gear, aren't we? With obviously still the podcast episodes every month. But also we have lots of events, lots of roundtable discussions, lots of experts on key topics throughout the year. It's going to be perhaps a more structured year for us here at Constructive Voices and where we, as I say, move the conversation on. We always say the conversation's building, you know, and it certainly is for 2023. Some exciting stuff ahead, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have that bit of structure and that focus going forward. Again, you know, big thanks to Jackie in the background that does so much work for us, you know, and yourself, Steve, as well. So we've got a very strong team, and we obviously have Henry as well that works with us, and lots of other people that we bring in. We don't rest on our laurels. We always try and improve, and that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to bring some great structure. We're going to bring some great events. We're going to get some great people together, and we're going to keep on asking those tough questions and trying to get the answers to the problems within our industry and even a bit beyond our industry too.
January is Constructive Voices Biodiversity Month.
The rules about how green spaces are looked after are changing.
In a series of podcasts, articles, social media conversations, and an exclusive roundtable event featuring biodiversity experts.
You can put biodiversity on people's doorsteps for them to enjoy, and it will have biodiversity values.
We'll explore what biodiversity means for the construction industry and how what we do in the built environment plays a key role in our natural world.
Everything we do through the construction industry and within Red Line developments can all be part of the solution.
Hear more from our experts by following or subscribing to the Constructive Voices podcast on your favourite podcast app, connecting with us on social media and visiting constructive-voices.com.
We at some point all have a responsibility and a benefit from biodiversity.
Biodiversity Month. This January, from Constructive Voices, the conversation is building.
This is Constructive Voices.
One of the big topics this year, not just in the construction industry, but worldwide, was COP27. Obviously, building on COP26 that happened in the UK. This time, the world's leaders and the big names in finance and from every industry pretty much were focused on Egypt. And we did an episode getting the reaction of people in the construction industry about what they thought.
I suppose there was a lot of expectation that we were going to have some changes within our industry out of COP27. Maybe not as many changes as we expected came to fruition, but certainly there's been a lead into potential changes that we're all going to have to make in the near future. So again, we got some great insight into what the top people in our industry feel about that. So that was great.
Matthew Black from the World Green Building Council was one of the key people on that COP27 episode, programme coordinator for the World Green Building Council's Global Advancing Net Zero programme.
I think it's very clear that it's been a bit of a mixed result. There are obviously some clear disappointment, and that shouldn't be dismissed. And it just shows that we need to keep the pressure up for ever increasing action on climate. But that's not to say that there aren't some positives to take away. I think the main headline is the agreement to develop a global fund for loss and damage, providing financial assistance to poorer nations who are usually the most affected by the climate crisis at this current time. And just for a bit of context, loss and damage refers to those severe impacts of extreme weather on physical and social infrastructure in these countries. And really, it's related to the financial assistance that's needed to combat this moving forwards. Now, we don't really know, probably until COP28 next year, on the details of how this fund will work, what the level of funding it will receive, etc. So there's still work to be done, but the fact that this now exists at least recognizes the necessity of such a fund moving forward. Post the negotiations that concluded over the weekend, we're hearing a lot of concern around the action on reducing emissions, on tackling carbon emissions, and therefore the goal of limiting heating to 1.5 degrees. As we look towards COP28 and the global stocktake that will happen next year, we want to see mitigation and adaptation of potential new buildings to be much more strongly considered. But in terms of what we saw at COP27, I think we can be much clearer and positive in terms of our assessment related to the built environment.
Constructive Voices, the podcast for the construction people.
Conservation of heritage buildings is another recurring theme on Constructive Voices, and in our most recent episode, apart from this one, we talked about one of the world's most iconic buildings, the Palace of Westminster, the UK's Houses of Parliament, and an incredible, eye-watering amount of disrepair with just some horrendous conditions that politicians have to work in. And Ian Paisley Jr. MP told us just how horrific it is.
If we are not careful, the United Kingdom is going to have its Notre Dame moment. That Parliament is going to burn to the ground. You have to have a crew of 4 men walk that building constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they spot fires, fire hazards, and put them out. And we're working in that building. The actual sewage system is so ancient, so it's constantly breaking down. So from time to time, there are elaborate smells in the Palace of Westminster, which do not emanate from the Thames, which everyone thought they did, but actually emanate at times from what's happening in the basement of that building. There's also a number of ventilated shafts in the building, which instead of being allowed to remain as cool, air-drying shafts, have been filled with wires and cabling and satellite material. And they've been put down shafts that are now got potential asbestos issues within them.
It's a building that we want protected. It's a building that's been around for a long, long time, and we want it to continue to be around for a long, long time. Pete, it's such a big project.
I have quite a lot of experience of working in that type of building, so I found that episode so interesting, and I was nodding my head and listening, going, I absolutely can see how that would happen. You're taking these iconic old buildings and then you're using them for so long, And what can happen an awful lot of the time is they're kind of, they get well represented or well looked after on the outside, but on the inside there can be quite a lot of problems. And again, it was discussed in the episode, you've got basically, cables that are pulled through systems that should be in air ducts, and then there's new cabling then gets put on top of that, and new cabling gets put on top of that, and before you know it, there's literally, there could be 60 years of cabling stuffed into one very small area. And of course you've got fire issues, you've got lots of stuff, lots of different construction technology has changed, and just general technology has changed over the years, that the old buildings are struggling to keep up. So sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side. It's sometimes it's very interesting to hear the reality of what it can be like to work within some of these very iconic buildings. But those buildings do take a lot of love and care to keep them in a condition that is suitable for their function. And it can be very difficult to do that, because obviously you have to start shutting down buildings and doing all those type of unwanted of unwanted kind of disruptions to the everyday life of a building. So, you know what? Great insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with all your normal construction work, the work on Constructive Voices, your television work as well, I'm going to suggest that you could probably still find time, if anyone from the Palace of Westminster authorities is listening and they're thinking, maybe we should get this guy.
Well, absolutely. I've got my construction company is thankfully very busy at the moment, and I've got some great projects ahead, and we're taking on lots of different projects going forward. I've got the new series of Home Rescue as well, which we're currently recording, will be on telly next year. So lots of good stuff on the go, and again, I'm a very proactive person, and I like to keep things moving in a positive way, and that's why it's such a great part of my everyday life is being part of Constructive Voices, because of the positive stuff that we do, and the way that we address these important issues and give people the opportunity to voice their opinions and to talk through these subjects. So I'm going to be busy, but I've still got time for talking the good talk and fighting the good fight that we do here.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, look, Pete, it's been great fun again this year, and we're looking forward to 2023. So happy Christmas to you and the family, and a happy new year to you as well.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you very much, and really look forward to working with you in the new year, and obviously tackling all those really, really good topics and getting that positive talk on that we always do. It's been a pleasure working with you this year. I can't wait for next year.
And that's all for this episode of Constructive Voices. Please take a moment to share it with others who may find it interesting. Follow or subscribe to get the latest episodes automatically on your favourite podcast app, and rate and review the podcast if you can. You can also listen to the latest episode by saying, Alexa, play Constructive Voices podcast.
Here's Constructive Voices. Here's the latest episode.
And on our website, where there's lots more information too. That's constructive-voices.com. Don't forget the dash. Until next time, thanks for listening. You're really helping us build something.